There's a guy in a fireproof suit walking around a warehouse tossing incendiary bombs all over the place. And those two are standing there watching a guy in a fireproof suit walking around a warehouse tossing incendiary bombs all over the place. I don't know why they're just standing there watching.
Come on, hurry up!
Nets like that never seemed all that effective to me. All the person under it has to do is pause for a moment and work it systematically, and you're out of it in seconds. Like that guy. He gets away.
Breaking and entering. You, Sam, I gave credit for more sense.
That'd be reasonable, Barney. We were trying to prevent a crime.
There have been 4 warehouse fires in the last 4 months.
I've got something to show you two. This is a copy of your license to do business.
He makes the usual threats about yanking it and blah, blah, blah. We've heard it 100 times before in every private detective show ever made.
You must be the chief investigator, Mr. Booth.
Thank you.
You know, on your lips, that title sounds like General of the Army. Now then, darling, tell me, what can I do for you? What's the purpose of your visit here?
If Sean McClory looks or sounds familiar, we've seen him on this channel before. He was actually Scottish then, a Scottish ghost to be exact. That's Hamish, the 18th century ghost from the Lost in Space episode, The Astral Traveler. No word on what became of Angus, but cool accent or not, he's not the one she's here to see. She's looking for his boss, Mr. Canby. Booth will see what he can do.
What is it that you want?
A job?
Indeed. Doing what?
Catching a firebug.
He says how? By dropping a net on him? Yeah, word travels fast. He's not interested.
Well, perhaps little girls should stay around the house, don't you think?
Wouldn't that be rather dull for little boys?
I couldn't resist throwing that in. I'm the only male in a house full of women. You bet your socks I'm a feminist. It's called survival. She and Sam head back to the warehouse after dark. She's determined to catch this arsonist and get a steady account with the insurance company. Her necklace is a microphone. Sam is waiting in the van with the receiver.
Come in, Miss West.
Thank you.
I'm grateful for what you tried to do last night. The police informed me of your involvement.
That's Mr. Flowers. He owns the warehouse, though if I'm following this correctly, someone else owns the stuff that's in it.
Well, your arsonist is going to be coming back here, and I'm going to need the key to the warehouse. And to keep me out of trouble with the police.
Well, I suppose it's worth a try, if you think so.
Good.
All right.
He just happened to have a spare one in his coat pocket. What a remarkable coincidence.
Listen, I've got to see you. Yes, a problem. A big one. All right. 15 minutes.
It's plain to see he gets his jollies burning stuff, so no way is he the arsonist. But he just might lead Sam and Honey to the person who is.
Well, didn't take him long to close shop. Wonder where he's going.
Home and to bed, where I'd like to be. And where I'm going to be.
Business first, Sam.
Assuming they follow him, which they won't. The crates in the warehouse are labeled Dresden Chemicals. That's who's been losing inventory to all these fires and hence who's been filing all the insurance claims. But the contents are definitely not chemicals.
I'll see if I can find anything else.
Have fun.
Although Sam may be feeling a little chemistry right now.
Well, it's incredible, darling. Just really incredible. It's going to be quite a shock to Mr. Canby.
Oh. Well, that'll be too bad.
Say, listen, how would you like to be along when I give him the glad tidings?
Is that possible?
Yes, I think so. He's attending one of those fancy society balls in Bel Air. I'm sure that both of us would be welcome as the flowers in May.
Is this a setup? It's a setup. Our bad guy puts her in the trunk and drives to a remote spot. There, he attaches a hose to the exhaust pipe and points the other end toward the trunk. Start the engine, and in a few minutes, no more Honey West. The show was canceled for lack of a star. At that time, most cars used bumper jacks, not hydraulic jacks. Good thing Honey's a little more practical. The jack pops the trunk and she drives back to town.
Did you say Mr. Booth called?
He was worried when you didn't show up. When Sam came in, I told him about Mr. Booth.
I should have known that you'd take off by yourself.
Never again, Sam. Never again.
I'm taking bets on how many minutes that pledge lasts.
Someone had to be covering up the insurance investigations. Flowers and Canby, maybe?
Yeah?
Well, we could connect Canby to Dresden Chemicals.
Canby's private files might tell us.
Yeah.
All right. But this time you stay put.
Now, Sam, doesn't she always do what you say? Booth calls.
As a matter of fact, I have a little hankering to snoop around Mr. Flowers' warehouse in the meantime.
Mr. Booth, don't you do a bit of snipping until I get there.
No, I won't. Are you sure you won't stand me up this time again?
Positively. I'll meet you at the loading gate.
Okay, who had 1 minute and 39 seconds before she broke her never again promise? Aha, we have a winner. 10 minutes? Dude, I'm not sure she can stay on any task for 10 minutes. Sam is at Canby's office. Now close it and lock it again so you know if anybody else comes in. He finds a file about Dresden Chemicals, but he's starting to suspect he's not alone. He could be right. That's Flowers. What's he doing there? He's about to finish the job when he hears someone coming. For an insurance office in the middle of the night, this place is getting a lot of traffic. This time it's Canby. He calls the police.
Honey and I wanted to see if there was a tie-in between Canby and Dresden Chemical.
And you never thought to relay your information to me, of course.
Why would they? You treat them like dirt. You act like they're the biggest inconvenience in your life. If I'm Honey, I wouldn't trust you to feed Bruce, much less handle vital information properly. Best I could tell, he left that burning matchbook on a wooden crate. Maybe he is the firebug, or he's an idiot. Honey uses her own key to get in. She's wearing her black jumpsuit so she can be sneaky.
Mr. Booth?
Notice the sneaky way she hollered that.
Mr. Flowers.
I'm sorry, I'm afraid your flowers are dead. It's time for the big reveal.
So, you're at Dresden Chemicals.
I do so wish that you'd kept out of it.
Flowers for Mr. Flowers?
No, no. He preferred the pretty flames to the money.
He starts throwing firebombs and goes up to the catwalk while Honey plays dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge.
Sorry again, darling. It's bulletproof.
Even supposing that's true, it's still gonna hurt like nobody's business and incapacitate him for a while. Sam and Barney arrive. Presumably Aunt Meg told them where to find her. His suit is bulletproof, but his firebombs aren't. Warning, this is going to get a little gruesome.
Fire department. Figure they might come in handy.
Not for Booth, they won't. I don't think I have to point out that back in the day, we weren't shy about giving villains their comeuppance on no uncertain terms. What happened? Self-appointed parenting experts declared that violence on TV would make children violent. If they saw someone getting blown up like this, they'd think it's okay to do that to someone. I heard horror stories about kids who poured gasoline over their sleeping dad and lit it because they saw it happen on a Roadrunner or something and it was funny. None of those stories were true, but in 1965, we didn't have fact checkers to do the digging and find out, or if we did, things moved slowly enough that by the time we got the information, it was irrelevant or too late. And yes, I know we've all heard exactly the same thing about video games and blah, 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 and you and I know it really is nothing but blah, blah, blah. I grew up watching the coyote blast himself to bits, fall off 2-mile-high cliffs, and try to ride missiles. I watched Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck beat each other over the head with giant mallets, and not once did it ever occur to me to try any of it. In fact, I was in my early teens when the so-called experts started preaching that stuff, and my friends and I all looked at each other and said, "What? Are you crazy? Or do you think we're crazy?" Kids do not try to imitate the violence they see on a screen, especially when it's so obviously overdone like this, or those cartoons. Now, having said that, if you ever find yourself in a warehouse and some guy is throwing firebombs at you, do what you have to do. I sure won't judge you. He was actually Scottish then, a Scottish beg. Come on, say the words. He's about, come on. Best I could tell, he left that burning matchbook. Maybe he is the firebug. Firebug? He is nothing but blah, blah, blah. Okay, boy, I lost that line.